All right, so get this. We're diving deep into business.
But
not the usual, like boring stuff, spreadsheets and, sales pitches.
Okay.
We're talking about the power of storytelling.
Ooh, storytelling.
And you might be thinking, wait, storytelling in business?
Yeah, isn't that for like novelists or TED Talkers or something like that?
Right. So we've got these fascinating sources from this guy, Peter Guber.
Okay.
And he's a total Hollywood bigwig.
Oh, wow.
Who's made a killing in both movies and the business world.
Okay, so he knows both sides of the coin.
Right.
The creative side and the labor side.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's funny how we often think of them as separate things, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's like storytelling is this creative, touchy-feely thing.
Yeah.
And business is all about cold, hard logic.
Totally separate worlds, it seems.
But Guber's argument is that the best business moves often hinge on telling the right story at the right time. Okay, I like that. I like that idea.
And he starts things off with this great story about his own aha moment when he realized he'd been doing it all wrong.
Okay, so he messed this up, and then he had an epiphany.
Yeah, so he was trying to bring a minor league baseball team to Las Vegas.
Now that seems like it should be an easy sell.
Right.
Las Vegas entertainment.
That's perfect.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But Guber went in with all the stats, the projections, the perfect pitch.
Okay.
And he totally struck out with the mayor.
But he couldn't convince the mayor.
Couldn't convince the mayor.
Wow.
And he was baffled at first.
Yeah.
The numbers were solid. The plan was sound.
Yeah.
But he had missed something crucial.
What was it?
He was so focused on the baseball team, the revenue, that he completely forgot about the why.
Okay.
So you're saying he forgot to make the mayor care?
Exactly. He didn't give the mayor a story that made him feel something, a reason to get emotionally invested in the idea.
Interesting.
And Guber realized, even with the best ideas in the world, numbers alone don't always persuade.
Right.
You need to connect on a human level.
Okay.
And that's where stories come in.
So what does this mean for the average person?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to convince a mayor of anything.
Sure.
But I do have to present ideas at work.
Yeah.
Get buy-in from my team.
Of course. Yeah.
How do I use storytelling in that context?
So think about it this way. Imagine you're sitting around a campfire with friends.
Okay.
And someone starts telling a ghost story.
Ooh, I love a good ghost story.
Right? What makes it work?
Well, it's got to grab your attention right away.
Yes.
Build suspense.
Yeah.
And then have a good payoff at the end.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just boring.
Right.
No one wants to hear a boring ghost story.
And that's exactly what Guber experienced on a whitewater rafting trip.
Okay, now we're talking
Yeah.
whitewater rafting.
So the group's getting a bit cocky, heading into this dangerous rapid. Okay, so his friend Richard, instead of lecturing them about safety,
Right.
he tells this really captivating story about an ancient Egyptian king and a crocodile.
Okay, hold on. I got to hear this. What happened with the king and the crocodile?
So the king strikes this deal with the croc for safe passage across a crocodile-infested river.
Oh, boy.
But then he gets arrogant, and he forgets to honor the agreement.
Oh.
And, well, things don't end well for him.
I bet.
And Richard ends the story with this pointed look at the Rapatus.
So?
And he says, "These falls will tear you to pieces if you don't respect them."
Oh, wow.
Talk about a wake-up call.
See, that's a story that sticks with you.
Right.
It's not just information. It's an experience.
Exactly. And that's how you want your business stories to land.
Okay.
They need to captivate. They need to create anticipation.
Okay.
And they need to leave a lasting impression.
So is there like a formula for a good business story? Or is it just like, whatever works?
Well, Guber highlights a few key elements from that rafting story.
Oh.
You need a challenge, you need a struggle,
Okay.
and then you need a resolution.
Right.
But the real magic is in how it makes you feel.
Okay, so there's definitely some psychology at play here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guber brings in some really fascinating insights from this neuroscientist, Dan Siegel,
Okay.
who explains the power of mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons, I've heard of those.
Yeah, these little guys in our brains, they actually make us feel what the storyteller's feeling.
Whoa, so it's like our brains are syncing up with the storyteller.
Exactly. It's called emotional transportation.
Oh, wow.
As you listen, your mirror neurons fire,
Okay.
creating this sense of empathy and connection with the person telling the story.
That's wild.
It is pretty cool.
So that's why a good story can be so much more persuasive than just facts and figures.
Think about it. Have you ever felt totally moved by a story that reminded you of your own experiences?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that, touches on a universal feeling.
Right.
Like overcoming a challenge or achieving a dream or something.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, me too.
It's like, me too. I get it.
I've been there.
And that's the me too factor.
Okay.
When we hear a story that resonates with our own experiences, we instantly connect with the storyteller,
Uh-huh.
and we're much more likely to buy into their message.
Okay, so we've got the why behind storytelling.
Yeah.
The mirror neurons, the emotional connection, the me too factor.
Right.
But what about the how? How do we actually start using storytelling in our work?
Well, Guber introduces this really intriguing concept called the backstory.
Backstory.
Yeah, those personal experiences, beliefs,
Yeah.
even those hidden struggles that shape who we are and how we see the world.
So it's like the stuff that's under the surface.
Yeah.
The things that make us tick.
Exactly. And Guber uses this hilarious but also kind of cringeworthy story about himself to illustrate how an unexamined backstory can totally trip you up.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Okay, so picture this. Guber's at a party,
Okay.
and he meets this charming guy who claims to be a Thai prince. Now, Guber, growing up, was totally fascinated by royalty.
Oh, I can see where this is going.
So he's completely starstruck.
Yeah.
He gets swept up in the moment, blinded by his desire to be near this supposed prince. And he totally misses all the red flags.
Uh-oh.
Turns out the guy's a total fraud.
Oh, man. That's brutal.
Right.
But I guess it makes the point that our personal baggage can really cloud our judgment.
Yeah, it can totally distort our perception.
Right.
And the takeaway for you is this.
Okay.
Understanding your own backstory, the good, the bad, and the embarrassing,
Oh, yeah.
can help you avoid repeating the same mistakes.
Okay.
It's about becoming aware of those hidden biases that might be influencing your decisions.
Right. So knowing yourself is the first step.
It's a huge step.
Okay.
But it's not just about understanding your own backstory. It's
Okay.
also about recognizing the backstories of the people you're trying to connect with,
Okay.
whether it's your boss, your colleagues, or your clients.
So how do we do that?
Whoa.
Do we stalk them on social media?
No.
Okay.
It's not about that.
All right.
It's more about paying attention, listening carefully,
Okay.
and picking up on the cues that reveal their values, their motivations, their experiences.
So it's about figuring out what makes them tick.
You got it.
Okay.
And the more you understand their backstory,
Hmm.
the better you can tailor your stories to resonate with them,
Right.
to connect on a deeper level.
So are you saying that everyone has a story that can be used to their advantage?
Absolutely. And it's not just about using stories to get ahead.
Okay.
Guber highlights tons of examples of people who've used their backstories as fuel for their ambition and resilience.
Okay, like who?
Like John Paul DeJoria,
John Paul DeJoria.
the founder of Paul Mitchell Hair Products.
Wow. Okay.
He had an incredibly tough upbringing, spent time living in his car.
Oh, wow.
But he channeled those experiences into this incredible drive to succeed.
So it's like turning your struggles into a superpower.
Exactly. DeJoria's backstory became a part of his brand,
Interesting.
a testament to his grit and determination.
It's inspiring, right?
Totally. Okay, so we've got this idea of backstory
Yeah.
as this powerful but often hidden force.
Uh-huh.
So what's next?
Well, yeah.
How do we actually go from understanding our backstory to telling a winning story?
Well, we've laid a great foundation here.
Okay.
But you're right, there's more to uncover.
Right.
Next time, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of crafting your story
Okay.
and delivering it with impact.
Sounds good.
Babe.
I'm ready. So last time we were talking about backstory and how understanding those, hidden forces shaping us and the people we interact with can be a game changer.
It really can.
But where do we go from there? How do we actually craft a story that works?
Right.
A story that people want to hear?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And Guber gives us this framework I think is so helpful.
Okay.
He calls it purpose audience execution,
Okay.
almost like ready, set, tell.
I love that. It makes it sound so much more approachable, like
Yeah.
something we can actually do.
It is. So first up, we have purpose. Okay.
Before you even start thinking about the story itself, you need to ask yourself,
Yeah, okay.
why am I telling this? What do I want to achieve?
So it could be closing a deal,
Right.
getting my team excited about a new project,
Yeah.
even just convincing my partner to try a new restaurant.
Exactly. It could be anything,
Okay.
but you have to have that clear goal in mind.
Right.
Without it, you just risk rambling, losing your audience,
Yeah.
and ultimately failing to get your message across.
Okay, purpose. Got it. What's next?
Audience.
Okay.
And this is where all that backstory stuff we talked about comes in handy.
Okay.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
What are their interests, their needs, their pain points.
So it's not just about telling a good story, it's about telling the right story to the right people.
You nailed it. Think about
Yeah.
it. You wouldn't tell the same story to a group of venture capitalists that you would to your friends at a bar.
Definitely not.
Right.
My friends would probably fall asleep if I started talking about ROI and market projections.
Yeah. Exactly. Your story needs to be tailored to your specific audience, almost like you're speaking their language.
Okay.
The more they feel like you understand their experiences and their perspectives,
Yeah.
the more likely they are to trust you and be persuaded by what you're saying.
Okay, so we've nailed down our purpose,
Uh-huh.
and we've got a good grasp on our audience.
Yep.
Now bring on the execution.
Okay.
How do we actually deliver a story that captivates?
Yeah.
And most importantly, gets results?
This is where things get really interesting. Guber stresses the importance of structure.
Okay.
You know, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Get the classic story arc.
Right. But he also reminds us that a good story is like a Trojan horse.
Whoa, a Trojan horse.
Yeah, you know, sneaking something in when no one's looking.
Oh, okay.
You're sneaking your message inside this compelling narrative.
Okay.
The audience is so caught up in the story, so emotionally invested, that they don't even realize they're being persuaded.
I'm starting to see how powerful this can be.
It is.
But how do we build that Trojan horse?
Where do we even start?
Guber says it all starts with the strong hook, something that grabs attention right away.
Okay.
Think of it like the opening scene of a movie.
Yeah.
It could be a provocative question, a surprising statement,
Okay.
a vivid image, even a personal anecdote.
Okay.
Anything that makes your listener lean in and say, "Tell me more."
All right, so you've got my attention. What happens next?
Now you need to build suspense,
Okay.
create some drama.
Right.
This is the middle of your story, where you've developed your characters, you paint a picture,
Okay.
and you take your listener on a journey.
So it's not just about stating facts, it's about creating an experience.
You got it. And a key element here is tension and release.
Tension and release.
Okay.
Okay.
Guber uses this hilarious story about Michael Jackson to illustrate this point.
Oh, okay. Now you have to tell me this one.
All right, so Michael wanted Guber's advice on breaking into the movie business.
Okay.
But instead of pitching ideas,
Yeah.
he insists on showing Guber his pet snake and mouse.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's so random. Right? Guber's totally bewildered.
Yeah.
But what Michael's doing is creating drama, a sense of anticipation and intrigue.
Okay.
It's like, where is this going?
Yeah.
He's demonstrating this core principle of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You need those highs and lows,
Yep.
those
Yeah.
moments of suspense and resolution to keep the audience on the edge of their seats.
It's like a roller coaster ride.
Exactly.
You need those dips and turns to make it thrilling.
Right. And then just as importantly, you need a strong ending, a satisfying resolution.
Okay.
This is where you deliver your call to action, your takeaway message,
Right.
and leave your audience feeling like they've gained something valuable.
So what makes a good ending?
Guber uses this phrase, the aha moment.
The aha moment.
It's that moment of clarity when the audience suddenly gets it,
Okay.
but everything clicks into place.
It's like the light bulb going off over their head.
Exactly. And it's that aha moment that makes a story truly persuasive and memorable. It's what makes it stick.
Okay, so we've got the structure down, hook, tension, and release, and a satisfying aha moment at the end.
Uh-huh.
But is there more to it than that?
There's one more layer I find fascinating.
Okay.
Guber argues that storytelling isn't just some clever communication technique.
Okay.
It's actually hardwired into our DNA.
Wow.
It's how humans have made sense of the world, passed down knowledge,
Right.
and connected with each other since, well, forever.
So you're saying it's more than just a nice-to-have skill. It's like essential.
That's exactly what he's saying. He goes deep into the science of storytelling,
Oh, wow.
exploring the role of those mirror neurons we talked about,
Yeah.
the impact of stories on our brains,
Okay.
and the evolutionary reasons why we're so drawn to narrative.
Interesting.
He even goes back to the very origins of language,
Really?
looking at how early humans use stories to communicate, build communities,
Wow.
and survive.
So you're saying that storytelling is as much a part of us as like breathing or eating?
That's the argument. It's
Yep.
how we learn, grow, and make sense of the world around us.
That makes the idea of using it in business seem even more powerful.
Right.
It's like tapping into this primal force that we all share.
But it explains why stories can be so much more effective than just data and bullet points.
Okay.
They tap into something deep within us, something that transcends logic and reason.
Okay, this is all incredibly fascinating, but I have to admit, I'm not exactly a natural-born storyteller.
Wow.
I mean, I can tell a decent joke,
Sure.
but crafting a compelling narrative that actually persuades people?
Yeah,
That sounds kind of intimidating.
I hear you, but here's the thing. Guber believes that everyone has a story to tell,
Okay.
and anyone can learn to tell it effectively.
So it's not like you have to be a Shakespeare or a Spielberg to make this work.
Not at all. He profiles all these successful leaders from various industries.
Okay.
People like Richard Rosenblatt, who sold MySpace to Rupert Murdoch,
Okay.
Wolfgang Puck, the celebrity chef.
Wow, big names.
And what's interesting is that none of these individuals consider themselves natural storytellers.
So they weren't born with this gift of gab. They learned it.
They learned it. They were entrepreneurs, chefs, tech innovators.
Yeah.
But they all understood the power of storytelling, and they figured out how to use it to their advantage.
Okay.
And Guber provides all these practical tips and exercises to help anyone, regardless of their background or experience, develop their storytelling skills.
So what's the first step?
One of the biggest things he emphasizes is self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Remember all that backstory stuff we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, understanding your own backstory,
Right.
those experiences and beliefs that shape your perspective is crucial.
Okay.
Guber uses this story about himself to illustrate this point.
Oh no, not another embarrassing Goober story.
This one's a doozy. He almost made this terrible business deal because he was blinded by his childhood fascination with royalty.
Oh boy.
He was so eager to be in the presence of this supposed Thai king that he overlooked some pretty obvious signs that the guy was a total fraud.
Ouch. I guess we all have those blind spots, those things that can trip us up if we're not careful.
It's a cautionary tale, but also a testament to the power of reflection.
Yeah.
Once Guber understood the root of his misjudgment, he was able to avoid repeating the same mistake.
So self-awareness is key. What else?
He also stresses the importance of understanding the backstories of your audience.
Right.
Remember what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Knowing what motivates them?
Yeah.
What experiences have shaped their worldview?
Right. It's like that saying, walk a mile in their shoes.
Exactly. And Guber shares this amazing story about how Ted Turner, the media mogul, persuaded Larry King to stay with CNN.
Wow.
Turner knew that King had this deep-seated fear of disloyalty,
Oh.
stemming from his father, abandoning him when he was a child.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff.
So when contract negotiations got tough, Turner simply said to King, "Just tell me goodbye."
Oh, wow.
Talk about playing hardball.
Yeah, but also kind of brilliant.
Right? Those 3 words triggered King's deepest fears, reminding him of the pain of abandonment.
Right.
And he couldn't bring himself to say them. Turner, by understanding King's backstory, was able to push the right emotional buttons and secure his loyalty.
That's some serious psychological strategy. I never realized how much psychology is involved in storytelling.
It's all about understanding human nature,
Yeah.
what makes people tick. And it's not just about manipulating people.
Okay.
It's about connecting with them on a deeper level,
Yeah.
finding that common ground.
So it's more about empathy than manipulation.
Absolutely.
Huh.
And it's not just about leveraging your audience's backstories for your own gain.
Okay.
It's about using that understanding to craft a story that genuinely resonates with them,
Right.
that speaks to their needs and aspirations.
Yeah.
It's about creating a win-win situation where both you and your audience feel like you've gained something valuable from the exchange.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Purpose, audience, execution.
Yeah.
The importance of backstory, self-awareness, empathy.
Right.
Anything else we need to keep in mind when crafting a winning story?
Actually, there are a couple of things.
Okay, so last time we were talking about how understanding backstories can be like incredibly powerful, both our own and our audiences.
Right. Recognizing those patterns.
Yeah, and how even if we don't think of ourselves as like natural storytellers,
Yeah.
we can still learn the techniques to make it work for us.
Exactly.
But I'm ready for some like real world application here. How can we actually put all this into practice? Where do we even begin?
Well, you're ready to start crafting those winning stories.
I am. Give me the tips and tricks.
All right. Well, Guber suggests, starting with what we were already talking about,
Yeah.
That self-reflection piece.
Yeah.
Take some time to really examine your own backstory.
Okay.
What experiences have shaped you?
Okay.
What are the stories from your life that have had the biggest impact?
Yeah.
What are those defining moments that have made you who you are today?
So it's like digging for buried treasure. We might be surprised by what we find.
Exactly. It's about uncovering those hidden gems.
Yeah.
Those experiences that have shaped your values, your beliefs, your entire worldview.
Okay, so we've got this deeper understanding of ourselves and our own stories. What's next?
From there, you can start to see how your story connects to the stories of others.
Yeah.
This is where empathy comes into play, that ability to step into someone else's shoes and see the world from their perspective.
And I'm guessing listening is a big part of that, right?
Absolutely.
Really tuning into what people are saying and maybe even what they're not saying.
You're absolutely right. Guber emphasizes that when you truly listen to someone, you're not just hearing their words. You're
Ooh.
absorbing their emotions, their energy, their intentions.
Wow.
It's like you're tuning into their frequency.
That's deep.
It is.
So when we can do that, when we can really listen with empathy,
Mhm.
we're better able to craft a story that truly resonates with them.
You're getting it. It's about finding that common ground,
Yeah.
that shared human experience that connects us all.
Okay, so we've got self-awareness, empathy, and deep listening.
hmm
What else can we do to hone our storytelling skills?
Guber recommends practicing.
Practicing.
Start small fight. Share stories with friends and family. Pay attention to their reactions.
Okay.
What resonates with them, what falls flat.
So it's like a test run before the big performance.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different styles, different approaches.
Okay.
Find what feels most authentic to you.
Authenticity. That's another one of those key ingredients we keep coming back to.
It's essential. People can spot a fake cunny a mile away.
Yeah.
Your story needs to come from a genuine place,
Right.
a place of passion and belief.
Guber also talks about studying the masters, right? Like
Sure.
paying attention to how great storytellers, whether it's in books or movies or even TED Talks,
Right.
how they structure their narratives and connect with their audience.
It's like taking a master class from the best in the business. Observe what they do, how they use language, how they create suspense, how they make you feel,
Yeah.
and then try incorporating those techniques into your own storytelling.
This is all making me think about my own story. Like, what are the experiences and beliefs that make me unique, right?
What's that story that only I can tell?
That's a great question to ask yourself because everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And often those stories that feel the most personal, the most vulnerable, are the ones that resonate the most deeply with others.
Because they tap into something universal.
Exactly. Those shared human experiences that connect us all.
Okay, but it's not just about sharing our stories, right?
Right.
It's about using them to achieve our goals to make a difference in the world.
That's where the real power of storytelling lies. Because a well-crafted story can move people to action in a way that no amount of data or logic can.
It's like what Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
That's beautifully put, and that's what great storytellers do. They make us feel, they make us laugh, they make us cry, they make us think, and they inspire us to act.
So if we can tap into that power, if we can learn to tell our stories authentically and with purpose,
Yeah.
we can truly make a difference.
You got it. The world needs your story. That's inspiring. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me into the power of storytelling.
My pleasure.
It's given me a lot to think about.
It's been great exploring this with you, and remember, the most important story you'll ever tell is your own.
Until next time, dear listeners, keep those aha moments coming.